We're the Con Guys, and this is the Con Guys Show, coming to you straight from the nerdy heart of Hollywood, California.
And this is Jim with theconguy.com.
She's been here with theconguy.com.
Katie here, aka the Con Girl.
Zordon did not want 5 teenagers with attitude.
My name is Derek Sam.
I'm Danae Sams, and that's my brother.
We are your home for news, opinions, and interviews from the world of Comic-Cons and fandoms. Your ultimate insiders for all things
That last part always makes me laugh.
I'm never gonna get over how much I love that introduction. I really am. Hey, it's a special Thursday night show, guys. Thursday, and we're gonna make the most of it. This is summer, which means
Thirsty Thursday.
Oh. Welcome to the Con Guy Happy Hour. Is anybody else thirsty like I am? It's summertime, guys.
I didn't get a drink. I should still get one. I should do that.
I'm staying hydrated over here.
It's important.
I have Diet Coke. It's like only my second one I've had in 2 days because I'm trying to cut back.
Good.
So.
Good. But I just want to say, this is summer, which means summer movies and fan conventions, which are starting to open up. And this week, we are celebrating the original summer blockbuster, and some would say the best. I would say the best. It's called Jaws, the Steven Spielberg classic that convinced us it was not safe to go back into the water, although we did. But this week, we preview 10 interviews with filmmakers, designers, actors, and fans of that original film, people that are here in Hollywood and that are very much into Jaws. They want to make it last, and they help to bring it about the first time. And then Derek and Katie are going to take us deep inside the world of Lego, specifically some updates.
Lego, Jim. It is not a plural.
Lego.
Oh, inside the world of Lego. It's kind of like Jedi?
Yeah.
All right. So
go with that.
Specifically, they're going to give us. They're going to take us inside the world of LegoCon. And was this the first ever LegoCon?
I believe so. I mean, they've got little events that you could call conventions, kind of, that happen a lot. But this is the first worldwide, international live streamed event that they've done. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, my name is Jim Fry. I'm your co-host for tonight's dive into nostalgia and fandom. We're coming to you straight from the nerdy heart of Hollywood, California. This is the Con Guy Show, the official podcast of theconguy.com. We are your home for discussion and views on, fandom, Comic-Cons, pop culture, anything you geek out on. And we try to do it from a filmmaker's perspective since we're all kind of wrapped up in the entertainment business. We're coming to you from our home on that Hashtag Show Network. Ben, who sponsors that Hashtag Show Network?
Hey, everybody. Our show is brought to you today by the fine people over at Neft Vodka, reminding you to please drink responsibly, as well as toynk.com, toynk.com. You can go there. You can get all kinds of cool stuff there. They got memorabilia and collectibles and tiki mugs, all kinds of stuff. Toys, action figures, a sweet lightsaber lamp I did an unboxing video of a while back. It's pretty cool.
Ooh. Did you say tiki mugs? I didn't know they had tiki mugs.
I think I just got an email and they had some tiki mugs.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. It's time.
I might be telling tales outside of school. I don't know.
That's all right. It's tiki season. It's summer season, guys. I'm so the reason that we are talking about Jaws tonight. Luke has joined the show. Wait, so since we're talking about people, Ben, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Me? Well, hey, everybody. I'm old buddy Ben Cleaver, an actor, comedian, writer, all sorts of stuff out here in Los Angeles. And, I do all kinds of stuff. One thing I'm really excited about is comedy clubs opening back up because I've been working on material over quarantine, and I'm ready to get back out there and start trying my new stuff and seeing if people might actually laugh.
Nice. I've seen you do some stand up before, and I love it. All right, Katie.
Hi everyone, it's Katie, one of the con girls, the only con girl representing tonight. I'm Katie. I am a streamer and designer and cosplayer. Also part of the Con Girls, which is the sister site to the Con Guy. We live reacted our thoughts on Loki last night.
You guys did such a great job.
We will also, Danae and I and Emily will again be doing that for the finale of Loki, so definitely tune into the Con Girls if you don't follow that. We also have a couple fun shows that we are planning and in the works. So just make sure you pop on over to the Con Girls if maybe you're a nerdy girl and you want to just see girls also nerd out about stuff. We got you covered. Not that there's anything wrong with male nerds, but female girls need an outlet too, so.
Everybody deserves their own space sometimes,
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the Con Girl is definitely a reaction to the fact that Katie and Danae and Ben's better half, Bree, they definitely have perspectives that, some of it that we kind of sometimes miss, and it's kind of cool. And I do have to say, the live show you guys did the other night, the reaction to Loki was so fun. You guys did such a good job in that.
Thanks.
Anyways,
also,
yeah.
We don't really talking about it tonight. But WitcherCon is coming up on July 9th. And if you guys know me at all, I'm a huge fan of the Witcher franchise, both the Witcher 3 video game and the TV series. And they are doing 2 streams, both on July 9th, one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 a.m. with a whole bunch of content about the game and the TV show. I'm hoping they drop the season 2 release date on that. But on July 9th, and Mr. Henry Cavill has his own panel that he'll be doing on July 9th at the first session, which is at 10 a.m. So if even if you don't like the game, you can probably like Henry Cavill. I mean, I don't know how you can't. So,
I don't know
where
anybody
Katie's going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Derek. What'd you say?
I just said I don't know anybody who doesn't.
If they don't know who he is, but yeah.
Speaking of Derek,
both the Con Girls have Henry Cavill on our dishwasher, so
as well he should be. All right, Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek Sams. I'm a regular here. What else do we need to say? I
You're talking
was
Lego tonight.
I'm going to be talking about LegoCon, which was a live stream this past Saturday morning. I was live tweeting on the Con Guy Twitter, and I reached out to myself, and myself replied at one point because all those amazing social skills I have. Yeah,
that's awesome. And last but definitely not least, cheese on beside the couch.
Hey there, everybody. The big Jaws fan here, actually. Probably fighting words for Ben. We'll see. Between me and Ben, we're probably the biggest Jaws fans here. But excited to talk about Jaws tonight. We have some very exclusive clips to show you. And just so you know, I am Cheeseman with conguy.com and with scareguy.com, and also a social media director, and I'm also a screenwriter.
Woo! So much going on there. And for those of you who are tuning in live, all one of you,
Thanks, Jonathan.
Wait. Let's go over to our chat. We do have some comments here. Jonathan is there. Queso on the sofa. Good to see you, Jonathan.
like you're eating queso on the sofa.
No, he's calling Luke queso on the sofa.
Yeah. Because we
Cheese on couch.
Cheese on
Hey, look,
couch.
guys.
Blood good. That's fantastic. And we are going to jump quickly into Jaws here, but I just want to give a little bit of a promo. If you haven't seen them, we have dropped a couple of really cool podcasts this week. Myself, Derek, and Katie dropped one at the beginning of the week. Katie, would you like to tell everybody what that podcast was?
Yeah, I'm totally blanking on his name, though.
Craig Moss.
Oh, thank you. Craig Moss, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we interviewed the writer and director. Writer, right? Yeah, he was also the writer, right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I do not know my stuff, apparently. The writer and the director of the new horror film Let Us In.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually quite an enjoyable watch. So if you like Halloween movies, you like horror movies, but you also don't know where's a good movie to watch with a family, this is actually a really good one to watch with your family, as it's not too scary, but it's just creepy enough that kids could enjoy it. And one of the more refreshing things is it's kids playing kids. So you don't have any 20, 30-something-year-olds playing teenagers. So it's actually a little bit of a breath of fresh air, and it was very enjoyable. Like, they had some unpredictable stuff, some cliche stuff that you get in horror, but it was just like the perfect balance. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. But if you guys want to watch our interview with the director writer, it's up on the Con Guy or that hashtag show. So.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things we found out was that Craig Moss, the writer-director's 12-year-old daughter, Mackenzie Moss, plays the lead character in it. And so they were kind of collaborating on this, and she was even helping weigh in with some of the, making decisions,
lingo.
trying to figure out the casting. Yeah, and some of the lingo, just the way kids talk. Because, when middle-aged men are writing a script about middle schoolers, it might not be that realistic. But thankfully, they had a 12-year-old involved.
And the young boy, I just found out, is the son of a friend of mine, Sean Monahan, who is a comedian over at West Side Comedy Club. It's Mission. He's part of Mission Improbable comedy troupe. So anyways, and real quick, 30 seconds, Cheeseman, what did we drop on Wednesday that folks can check out?
On Wednesday, we finally put out our Days of the Dead panel stuff, which is totally evergreen because we talked about some of the biggest horror fandoms out there. We talked about Friday the 13th, Halloween. There was Alice Cooper and Corey Taylor from Slipknot there. Also, Friday the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, the Dream Warriors were there. Like the whole big group of the teens were there, which was pretty amazing. And am I leaving anything out?
Just one of we got David Naughton, an exclusive interview, the American Werewolf in London. We have a one-on-one with him for about 7 minutes, which is pretty spectacular. That was a great interview. We'll be doing a little bit more about that film, which is celebrating right now its 40th anniversary. But Jaws. But Luke was able to meet somebody. Who are you able to meet, Cheeseman?
Susan Bacalini, who was Chrissy Watkins from the original Jaws, the girl that gets eaten. That's on the poster there from the beginning. I met her. She was really nice doing signatures, and we're hoping to have her on the show, hopefully here soon within the next month or two. So we've been talking to some people there, but that's another great thing about these conventions. You get to go up and meet people. And if, you're in entertainment or doing the podcasting like we are, they're very friendly and sometimes open to chatting with you, whether in person like we did with David Naughton or down the road like we may do with some of these other people we met.
Well, speaking of Chrissy, when a young woman is killed by a shark while skinny dipping near the New England tourist town of Amity Island, police chief Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, wants to close the beaches. And it's the 4th of July. But Mayor Larry Vaughn, played by Murray Hamilton, overrules him, fearing that the loss of tourist revenue will cripple the town. In comes the scientist Matt Hooper, played by Mr. Richard Dreyfuss, and a grizzled ship captain named Quint, played by Robert Shaw. They all offer to help Brody capture this killer beast, and the trio engage in an epic battle of man versus nature. Jaws was released June 20th, 1975, forever altering our trips to the beach. Woo! And we are celebrating it today. We're going to celebrate it today. So Luke and Ben, over this past year, they were able to do a series of really cool interviews with a number of creatives from that original film. Creatives, locals to Martha's Vineyard, and myself and Katie and Luke were able to interview Greg Nicotero, he's the guy responsible for restoring the last remaining Jaws shark mold. So anyways, Luke, let's hear a little bit about last thing, and this is what we're actually going to talk about, is if you go to theconguy.com, you will see this graphic and this article. This is where we have collected 10 exclusive interviews with folks from the original Jaws, plus Greg Nicotero, and some really cool stuff. All 10 interviews are there, and we're going to give you a slight preview tonight to give you a taste of what you can be expecting. Cheeseman, tell us what we can expect. And you and Ben can jump in and kind of talk about how this went.
Obviously, I've prepared. We did 10 interviews about a year ago during the 45th anniversary, and had a lot of great people. Like we had Carl Gottlieb, the writer, the starting kind of it all, got brought in with Spielberg. Unfortunately, Spielberg was busy that week and we couldn't get him on with them. But we'll try better next year. But we also had
by the 50th for sure, right?
Exactly.
Well, and then he called us, and we were like, "Sorry, man, we're all booked up now."
We're all booked up the week. We can't do an episode 11 right now. But we did. We had Jeffrey Kramer, who was Hendrix. We had Joe Alves, who designed the orca and the shark, which was pretty amazing. Which a lot of people, I don't think, realize the amount of influence he had on the whole thing. Because you're like, oh, Joe Alves, but like unless you're like a fan, he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves for creating the Bruce Shark that everybody's obsessed with the orca that everybody's obsessed with. Had such a hands-on production approach, storyboarding and creating it. So,
and he was the director of Jaws 3.
That's true.
Yeah, and he was the director of Jaws 3, but he just was amazing because, like he'd bring books out and like he had collect so much of the stuff or would have little notes from production and all that. Like he has so many little things and he'll just like turn around like, hold on, I got this thing here, and then I'll like show you in person. And we're hoping eventually that we could get over there in person and kind of get to see some of the place, which may be a possibility.
So you're saying, okay, so we did speak with Joe Alves, who personally was one of my favorites. And I know, Ben, what'd you think about the Joe Alves interview?
Oh, I think it's Alves, isn't it? Is it
Am
Alves?
I saying it wrong? I am so sorry.
No, it's Alves.
Is it Alves? Okay.
Yeah.
My fault. I think if you're gonna watch, if you're only gonna watch 2 out of these 10 interviews, watch the Carl Gottlieb and watch the Joe Alves, because this is old school Hollywood guys from who came up working in the 60s and 70s, and they were still young guys when they were working on Jaws, especially Joe, but now they're like these grizzled old Hollywood guys who've been living out here since they're just they're just so delightful and so fun to talk to. And it's just like exactly what Luke was saying. Joe would just be like, oh yeah, and I got this, and then like told us stories about how guys from the crew would like he got upset because they'd take teeth out of the big mechanical shark and like take it to bars after they wrap shooting for the day and try and impress women. And then he'd have to like put new teeth in the shark, and it was.
I don't think that would impress me. I like if someone's like, here's a shark's tooth from a movie prop.
Well, I'm sure they weren't telling him it was fake. Like, yeah.
Either way, I don't think I'd be
pulled
like,
this out of a shark.
Come on, Katie. The guy dove in to the ocean and pulled out a great white shark tooth.
Yeah, because I would believe that. Yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't believe it, but you'd respect the effort.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not just like a hi.
Right.
But Luke, you have put together a little preview of the Joe Alves interview, correct?
Yeah. Would we like to show that now?
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say I'm obviously wearing a Quint hat, wearing a Jaws shirt, but I'm also drinking out of a Jaws glass. Our friend Patrick decided for some reason to put some whiskey scotch in there. So I guess I'm kicking it off this way. So here's to Swimming with Bow-Legged Women. And we're going to show you an exclusive clip from our Joe Alves interview.
All right.
Do you hear a lot about stories about Jaws that I could go into, like they used the barrels because the shark wasn't working? That's not true at all. You could see in these early sketches based on the book, there were barrels. The barrels were very important, and I painted them yellow. So they were a suspense thing to use, like a Hitchcock thing. Instead of showing the shark all the time, we didn't not show the shark all the time because it didn't work. There's some like 200 storyboards in that book, and the ones that have the shark, we got all the shots that we wanted. It just took a while, and I'll tell you why it took a while to get the shark working.
That's a super interesting story, because I've always heard that it was because the shark wasn't working. That's really cool to know that.
Absolutely not true. Okay, first of all, let me just say this. Stephen was not on the movie when I started, but we were friends. I used to go over to his cabana there out of the studio, and I was showing him shark pictures and my drawings, and he said basically, and I've told him this before, that if we do this, we want to do a full-size shark, a big shark in the real ocean, not in a pond or back lot with a phony-looking backdrop. So that was the intent, and we had come up with the size of 25 feet. And that's because an ichthyologist that I was working with said that the perfect shaped white shark is 12 feet. As they get bigger, they get fatter. So we doubled that. So when we presented that to all the department heads at Marshall's office, Stephen has now gotten onto the movie, and the effects department said they've never done it before. They've never made a shark like this. And if they did, it would take a year and a half to make and test and all that. So they didn't do it. And as I was leaving the meeting, Marshall Green, who happened to live on a boat and sort of liked the idea of this movie, said, "Can you get the shark made?" And I said, "I certainly could try." So basically, that was October 3rd. When we had the meeting, I put together, made Bob Matty. There's a good page in there where I met with Bob, and he brought back a little wire thing showing how the shark would open his mouth and stuff. And so we probably put together a crew of 7 guys. Probably November, December, we started finding a place to build it off the lot. So we really didn't get into really good construction till late December. The book came out in February of '74. So they had probably worked on the shark maybe 2 months, if that. And the studio said, we're going to start shooting this in 2 months. So basically, the shark didn't work because we never had time to test it. We didn't have the year to make it. After about 4 or 5 months, and Steven shot everything without the shark, we basically would try it, and I would go to Bob and say, "What shark do you think is working?" He says, "I think the left to right." I'd go to Steven. He would go through the storyboards that we had worked out and said, "Okay, that would be 185 A, B, and C." And I would say, "Okay, if it works, we shoot it. If it's not, it's a test." So basically, that was the problem. But we got every shot that we had planned. The idea that the shark didn't work, this whole thing, so that's why they didn't use the shark so much. Absolutely false. And the barrels, I painted the barrels yellow so they would stand out. And the barrels represented the shark. When you see the barrels pop up, you know what's down there. It's the shark. So it's a sort of a Hitchcock thing, don't show everything.
Yeah, right. Fantastic.
Yeah,
That is really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of when I first saw Jaws, I was really young, and it terrified me. I legit was terrified of that. It didn't even matter how little or you saw the actual shark. It was still scary, and I always kind of figured they intentionally did it that way because you don't want to give away the whole thing. I mean, the best horror films, you don't see the monster until certain parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I knew that it was problematic and it had issues with it, but I never associated that as to why we didn't see the shark so little.
Well, that's what the rumor, and that's what they've been saying for all these years. And Joe comes on and says, "No, that's not what the reason was." Everybody still thinks that's the reason.
It's great. It's great.
So, all right, Ben,
I love little things like that where you find out information from shooting. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, and Katie, you as a production person, and all of us as filmmakers understand, like, you need time to create things. And like he was talking in there, which was interesting, it kind of cleared up because there's such a reputation behind Jaws of the shark's not working, blah blah blah, what a disaster. But it's like the studio had this book that was like basically coming out as they were making the movie, just because there was a lot of hype around it. And then they made a shark that should have taken a year. They're just like, "Oh, we're just going to do it." And they never really had time to test it in the ocean or do anything. And they just put that thing in there. So for what they had to do, they did a phenomenal job in that short of time. And then again, like you said, the barrels were always kind of part of that. And then they just maybe played into it even more. when the problems happen.
Yeah, like the scene with the barrels, it kind of reminds me, and I know he said Hitchcock, but it reminds me of like the scene in Jurassic Park. It might be Jurassic Park. I can't remember which one. I think it's Jurassic Park, where you don't see the dinosaurs and you just see the people disappearing in the tall grass.
Oh yeah.
Lost World. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember which one, but so I apologize for not remembering which one. But
Okay.
but yeah, like that scene was probably more scary because you didn't see the dinosaurs, you just saw people disappearing.
Or even better yet, like it compares to like the scene in Jurassic Park where you just hear the thump of the da-da-dum, and you see the shaking of the water.
In the cup.
Yeah.
All right,
Or-
next.
Yeah.
Again, Spielberg.
I know.
Or the Velociraptor in the kitchen, which is, in my opinion, one of the scenes that scared me the most as a kid. Every time I went into a kitchen that had stainless steel appliances, I was
Oh my gosh, I know. So one of the other, another great get for this is the when we decided to put together all these podcasts, Cheeseman, this is the one, Carl Gottlieb, who wrote the book, The Jaws Log. He also wrote the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
He's a legendary writer and actor. He wrote on the Bob Newhart Show, the Smothers Brothers, the Odd Couple. He wrote the film The Jerk. Wait, did he direct The Jerk? He wrote the film The Jerk.
Yeah, he
And
wrote that. Caveman, he directed.
Yeah, before taking on the movie Jaws. Now, and he was able to take us a little bit inside this summer blockbuster, and he told us some about his book, The Jaws Log, which is, I can't get it in frame, which is kind of like the day by day of what happened on the set. And Ben said that this is one of the guys that he most liked talking to.
Well, this Carl and Joe, who we just saw, I was just sitting there watching this footage of Joe. I was on that interview, and I was still sitting here right now, just mesmerized listening to him. That's why, and you'll see when we watch Carl, and I think I'm actually going to dip out of the show during this next video. So I got to head out tonight. But
Ben's in a production meeting. Woohoo!
Production
Yay!
meeting tonight. So
Making stuff.
exactly. But yes,
But he's
Joe
still on the
Alves
show,
and-
part of these interviews.
Yeah, you'll see him in the interviews. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Check it
So
out.
what were you saying about Carl?
But Joe and Carl, both just these old school Hollywood guys from the 70s who kind of made this movie in the old school way of making movies. They had a budget, but it wasn't huge. It wasn't small, but it wasn't huge. Right. And they had to like work with what they had, and they didn't have the budgets and the CGI and all the stuff that you have these days. Disney threw all the money they had at Avengers, right? They didn't have that when they were making Jaws, and they still made one of the greatest films of all time. So
amazing. Yep. All right. So Carl Gottlieb, Cheeseman. All right,
Good
Ben,
night, everybody.
thank you for showing up tonight.
Good night, Ben.
good night.
All right. Ben, where can we find you?
Oh,
yeah.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at BENKLIEWER. You can also search the hashtag BK421. I'm pretty much the only person that uses it because it doesn't really mean anything except for that. But yeah, and we'll see you guys next time on the next live con guy. Or I'll see you. You'll see the rest of these folks for the rest of the evening. But good night, everybody. I love you all.
Good night, Ben.
Good night,
All right,
Ben.
Let's see Carl.
Good night, Ben. All right.
Carl.
So
I
just
was so hoping that the video would pop up right when Ben
Well, yeah, I was gonna wait. I was gonna dip out when the video played.
He was waiting for the video to start before he could leave.
okay.
Go ahead.
Fine. I just want to clarify real quick. Carl Gottlieb was working on The Odd Couple, and then he moved into Jaws. He was working in TV, and then I think the movie stuff came after. Just because the Jaws nerds, I just don't want them to go crazy about stuff. And we're trying our best to know our stuff. All right. And Carl Gottlieb. Bye, Ben.
There I was, I had an Emmy, I was writing, and my friend Steven Spielberg and I were writing together, and he asked me to work on a script that he was developing called Jaws. And I went to Martha's Vineyard 3 weeks before principal photography, rewrote on location, staying barely ahead of the schedule, performed in the movie as an actor. I also said, if we, Steven and I, do our jobs right, people will feel about going in the water the way they felt about taking a shower after Psycho.
Right.
And for the next 45 years, anytime I ever met anyone and told them I worked on Jaws, their first comment to me was, after I saw that movie, I didn't go swimming, I didn't go, I've heard that for 45 years.
Do you think that your background as an actor did that? How much did that inform how you wrote the screenplay of Jaws? It sounds like you did have kind of like a collaborative operation going on there with the actors when it came to the script.
Oh yeah, no. When you're working as closely with the director and the actors as we did in Jaws, everything they do becomes grist for the mill. If you've done your job as a writer, you've created characters that the actors can inhabit, and if they decide to ad lib, they'll ad lib in character, not just an actor trying to invent more dialogue for themselves. So it was it's a perfect example. To this day, it's the happiest collaboration of my life. Everybody was contributing all the time. Everything people did. I was listening to the actors. I could write in their voices. Craig Kingsbury, who was Martha's Vineyard character, said a lot of things that wound up in Quint's dialogue. Because when Spielberg met Craig, he said, "Carl, you got to listen to this guy. He's got a great turn of phrase." So Craig got a part in the movie, and we got free dialogue. You take stuff where you find it. Lee Fierro did not like her speech when she slapped Brody, and she refused to say the lines. So at the last minute, I had to write a new speech for her, which she did perfectly and slapped the shit out of Roy Scheider. And it's a great moment in the movie, and I'm very proud of her as an actor for forcing me to write that speech the way it turned out, and for her to deliver it the way she delivered it.
As an actor myself, one of my favorite monologues in cinema history is the Robert Shaw's Indianapolis speech that he gives when they're on the boat. How did that scene and that monologue evolve from beginning to what we got in the end? And as I understand it, did you send that scene to like George Lucas, Zemeckis, Bob Gale? Do you remember any of the advice that they give on that?
Stephen was very nervous about that speech. It doesn't occur in the novel, and Sackler introduced it because he was a Navy guy and understood history of the Navy, so he knew about the Indianapolis, and he's the guy who put it in the script. And it was always like a 2-page, 3-page scene. It was a monstrous block of dialogue.
Yeah,
Stephen was very nervous about shooting it, so he sent it to all his friends for contributions. And some people, wrote stuff down. Some people sent stuff in over the phone. John Milius was on the phone. But I kept track of everything. And eventually we gave all the material, 5 different versions, to Robert Shaw. Now, Robert Shaw won I think he got a Pulitzer Prize for drama. He wrote The Man in the Glass Booth and 5 novels. So Shaw is the writer who took all the speeches and synthesized his monologue and came to dinner one night and said, "I think I've got that pesky speech licked." He read it to us, and Steven said, "That's what we're shooting, and that's what we shot."
That is so cool. I have to respect that for a writer to be able to work with actors that well, and have the humility to take their input and to work with them and just collaborate in that way. That's great.
Yep. I do have to say we have to recognize somebody, Miss J. Smith. She said that Joe is her hero. Joe Alves is her spirit animal. J. Smith is actually part of the 10 interviews we did for this. She is one of the founders and hosts, along with Michael Smith. They are not related. Of Let's Talk Jaws Live. It's a weekly show, and as they continue their wait, I have it right here. They are the creators and hosts of Let's Talk Jaws Live, a weekly interactive discussion group on Facebook that is designed for Jaws fin addicts. Get it? Fin addicts who crave a lot more Jaws interaction than just an occasional festival or screening. Let's Talk Jaws Live has quickly become the go-to spot for Jaws discussions and gatherings. So it's really cool to see her here tonight. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here. We love your show. I'm sorry, I interrupted our discussion about Carl Gottlieb, but I tell you what, that guy, Derek, you would have loved as a writer, just sitting and listening to him talk about writing through the 70s. And like, this is a great interview that Luke put together there with him when he even talks about comedy, how comedy has changed over the years, and how he doesn't know if he would be able to write comedy today, because the people's responses to it have changed. Because he wrote a comedy, a very anti-racist comedy back in the day, The Jerk, which used some language that perhaps would not go over so well today, but he was using it to combat racism. So, I mean, and he was such a breath of fresh air, don't you think, Luke?
Totally. And a couple things I just want to note, like, I mean, there's so many great stories that you'll hear if you can like listen to the whole thing, but something that fun that he told us when we first met him in person, we were at an art gallery, was that Robert Shaw took 2 days to record the speech. The first day he showed up drunk because he thought that would kind of make the speech better, but then he ended up kind of really messing it up and missing kind of like what it needed to be. So, and Robert Shaw felt really bad. So he came back the next day totally sober and did it, and then just like totally like nailed it. But the thing is that Carl Gottlieb said is that if you watch the takes, like when Robert Shaw's eyes are super glossy, you can tell that's the drunk version. But then when he's just like totally sober and just looking a certain like more just directly and all that, like you can tell that's the sober take, and that's probably the majority, but they did I think still take some of the other takes. And
before we show the next clip, just tell them real quick, Luke, the first time that we met Carl Gottlieb, it was a really cool experience. Remember that?
Yeah, we went to go see an art show in LA. They had a special art gallery of Jaws fan art and stuff like that. And also Greg Nicotero, who we'll talk about again, one of the biggest special effects people out there right now. He recreated, Brody, Hooper, and Quint all in kind of like a wax kind of figure kind of looking thing that looks so realistic. And they also did a shark head as well. But we were there, and then the people that were running the gallery were like, hey, Carl Gottlieb's going to stop by. Like, oh, really? So we were supposed to rush back to watch E.T., other Spielberg movie with some friends. But then we're like, we're going to we might be kind of late, or just kind of rushing it, give him a heads up. And then Carl Gottlieb came in, and then the owner is like, hey, can you go out and meet Carl and bring him in? And I'm like, yes. So got to meet him. He told some of these stories that we're talking about, and I had him sign some stuff. So he was also an awesome person, and he's looking forward to doing more kind of meet and greet stuff here in the near future. Eager to get out there and see you fans and answer your questions and sign stuff for you.
All right, before the next clip, Jonathan reminds us of the song, Show Me the Way to Go Home. I'm tired, I want to go to bed. One of the by far one of the most expertly, skillfully crafted scenes in all of cinema history. Oh, Cheeseman, this next guy that we're going to show a clip from is one of my favorite. Derek, you'll love it. This is the CBS executive who he was the guy responsible for he was a Fox executive at the time. He greenlit X-Files. He's responsible for X-Files being part of the things that I love so much today. His name is Jeffrey Voorhees. He played Luke. Who did he play?
Jeffrey Kramer.
I'm sorry. I am Jeffrey Kramer. Jeffrey Kramer. He played Deputy Hendricks, right?
Yes.
So tell real quick, how did you first meet him?
So he's also in the movie Halloween 2, and we were at a Halloween 40th anniversary convention that was in Pasadena. And he was there doing a signing for that, but also like a lot of these actors, they'll bring headshots from their other things that they do. And he obviously brought some stuff from Jaws. So I had him sign something for Jaws that's now hanging on my wall. But I talked to him. I'm like, hey, we do a podcast. I don't know if you'd ever want to come on our show. And he was nice enough to give me his email. So being the busy guy he is, because he also worked on, the show The Practice back in the day. Like he was doing like Emmy stuff for that like way ago, but still like it's in the industry, working, producing all this major stuff. So when we decided to do all this Jaws stuff, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cold contact him again. I'm sure he was busy when I tried to contact him right after the convention, and I was able to get in through that, I was able to get in touch with his PR person. He's like, yeah, okay. And then got that all. But it ended up being one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He was the nicest person in person as well. But through that, we ended up getting kind of this exclusive interview with him as well. And he was amazing as a person, an actor, producer, like you'll see.
Cool.
So now we are going to show you the clip of Jeffrey Kramer.
I saw in another interview you were talking about your first day that you didn't feel quite well because you had a little bit of nerves the first day of filming.
I was so nervous. I could have really thrown up on that beach. And it's so funny because there's a guy, Jonathan Philly. I've known him since we were kids. That was the first day of principal photography. There and the dropping into frame and kind of almost vomiting, and I was nervous. Oh boy.
Was that theme? Did they actually have more? To follow up on Luke's question, did they have more of Chrissy's remains on the beach?
No, that you saw what you saw. It was really the arm is what you saw.
So they never made like a severed head or like any kind of attached torso or anything. That would have really been Luke. That would make me throw up just looking at that.
Ben Gardner's head coming out of the boat was done at Verna Field swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm just amazed, like what a PG movie could get away with then. That today PG movies are like what G movies were back in the 70s.
Without a doubt.
What was it like working with a young, fairly new, fresh Steven Spielberg back then? Just problem solving, figuring out how to do the film.
Well, but he was still Steven then, and he really was open to ideas and other things and improvisation. The rocks, the this, what's the matter with my printing? It's all kind of, he was very open. He was very encouraging. We didn't rehearse a lot, if at all, really. And he just knew what he wanted and he knew what he didn't want. And he was the director. It didn't matter how old he was. He was the guy. And, who knew he would turn out to be this iconic legend and he'd be Spielberg. But he was always a good, decent, nice man. And I appreciated that. And when I ran into him in LA, he was always cordial. And we weren't close friends by any means, but he was just a decent human being who was kind. I think he was quite kind.
Mm-hmm.
And, years later, many, many years later, we had won the Producers Guild of the Year award for The Practice, I think it was. And David Kelly couldn't be there, and I'm going to accept it. And Stephen is presenting it in front of 600 people. And he says, and Jeffrey... he's presenting the award, and they announce the award, and he says, "Oh, Jerry, I'm so proud of you." And I think, oh my God, he just called me Jerry. What am I going to have to say? No, it's Jeffrey. It's Jeffrey. I couldn't do it, so I just said, "Thank you very much." What are you going to do? You wait, you think, oh boy, what'll I do? I use this on the Tonight Show or something, something.
Right.
But, it was just so funny.
Yeah.
I saw humor in it, and he didn't mean anything by it. It was just, he didn't remember.
All right. I could talk to that guy forever. But we got to, let's kind of get to the last two clips you have here, because they are definitely two of my favorite. Cheeseman. Set up the next one.
So the next one is Jeffrey Voorhees. He played Alex Kittner, the boy that, gets eaten by the shark, yellow raft, red swim shorts. So what was cool about him is we interviewed him, and he actually went out on location to the beach where he died and did his interview from there. So
where his character died.
His character died, obviously not him. And there was lots of other cool stories he talked about his, like, the actress who played his mom. They saw each other later because he runs a restaurant where there's like an Alex Kittner burger and people could meet him. So he totally
lives in Martha's Vineyard, right?
And Martha's Vineyard, yeah. He's a local, lives there, didn't go on acting. He just kind of was a local, and he's enjoyed that. But it's awesome that he did it right there from the beach, and that's what I'm going to show. And he's going to talk about his experience of playing Alex Kidner there on the beach.
Cool.
I just take the rafts down to the water here, and that's where you start hearing the dun-dun, and when you hear that, it's not good news. But it was funny because, you know, people were like, "Were you afraid of the shark filming it?" No, I was afraid of going in this water in May here. You freeze your little 12-year-old, you know what, off. So you swim out on the raft, and Spielberg was like, "See the boats over here?
Yeah.
A little closer than those boats were." He goes, "Swim out," and there was a machine like the size of a barrel under the water. You couldn't see. It was like right near the top of the water. And he says, "Swim out to this thing now. And when you get there, we'll say cuts." The shorts that I was wearing, I guess, I found out that, because Dreyfus at one of these signings, he was telling me that the shorts I had were red. And that was not supposed to be in the movie, I guess. The whole thing, the writers, Spielberg, everyone's like, they want no red clothing because of the blood and Jaws and all that. So nothing was supposed to be red. And they say, how did my shorts end up being red? And I guess they couldn't find another pair. So that's like the only red article of clothing in the movie, I guess.
Do you still have those swim trunks?
No, you get some crazy people that they would ask that question. Do you save those? It's like, no, I don't even know what happened to them. Spielberg would have cookouts and baseball games, and Richard Dreyfuss, they would all be down there, Roy Schneider and those guys. And they'd be out there with the kids playing baseball. You're having a burger they're cooking, and then you look over far away because it was like a baseball field. You see the tennis courts further away. It's like, oh, there's Robert Shaw. And it's like, oh, I got to run over and say hello to him. And you get a little closer. It's like, what's that smell? It's like you smell booze. The guy, it's like 1 PM. You could tell he was a little intoxicated right then. And you run over, hey, how's it going? And he's like, get away from me, you little, I'm not going to say it on air. It starts with an X. And, get away from me, you little shit. So basically we knew he just wanted nothing to do with all these little kids running up saying hello. And so and that just got, that was kind of putting fuel on the fire because we knew that got him upset. So it's a small island. So you go down there and watch him filming scenes all over the place. And anytime you would see him, you would have to run over and just, how's it going? Hey! To piss him off.
Yeah, so again, another great interview we did with Jeffrey Voorhees, who played Alex Kidner. So,
that guy was amazing. He was amazing. He took us down to the water's edge. He walked us around Martha's Vineyard, all the filming locations. We couldn't have asked for a better interview. And Cheeseman, this last clip is the one that Katie participated in with us.
Yeah. So the last clip we're going to show is kind of like where we are now with Jaws. We don't have any new movies announced or anything yet, but so there's one of the sharks. So let me just say that. So Jaws, when it was made, the studio wasn't very happy that it went over time, over budget, all that. So the sharks come back to Universal Studios and they trash them. They don't know this giant success it's going to be. But then the movie comes out and they're like, well, I guess we should do something to kind of get the fans in here and all that. So then they still had the original molds. So they made another shark for publicity there at Universal Studios Hollywood that was hanging from the rope and all that. So
Brad wants to know, what's this Jaws movie about?
What's this Jaws movie about?
Well, maybe if you weren't 45 minutes late, you would know.
Keep going, Luke. Go, Luke.
But anyways, this shark unfortunately ended up in a junkyard and just kind of was falling to pieces, was hanging up in a tree, didn't have its teeth anymore, all the paint was peeling. So Greg Nicotero, one of the biggest special effects person out there right now, who studied under Tom Savini, a classic special effects horror in the past, who's still living.
The guy that does all the effects for The Walking Dead. He has his own series, Creep Show, now on Shudder. Yep.
Yeah, Greg Nicotero. So Greg multiple times went there trying to buy the shark because he's just this ultimate fan. And then the junkyard closed down and they're like, all right, we're going to donate it to this museum. And then Greg's like, hey, I'll donate all my labor just to be able to kind of be a part of this. And he restored the shark fully, and it's now in this museum. So we're going to hear a little of this backstory of
It's the Academy of Motion Arts and Sciences
yeah.
Museum. Yep, over here in Los Angeles. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and Greg, one of the reasons he's in what he's doing is because of Jaws. He was a mega fan, and his interview is amazing as well. And like we said, Kitty was part of that too.
Tell us about the restoration of the fourth Bruce that you got from the junkyard.
Yes. Well, the funny thing about that was that, so you got to flash back in time to 1975. Jaws comes out. Universal has this huge backlot tour. And all of a sudden, the way I imagine it is they start scrambling. Like, we got to have something from Jaws in the backlot because we have like the biggest movie in the world and we don't have anything to show for it. So they pulled the original molds out. I don't know why, I have this vision of like a bunch of guys smoking cigarettes, like painting fiberglass of the shark, and they hung it by the tail, and it was on display. So when you would go to the backlot at Universal, you could see a replica of the shark from Jaws, and they painted it green with like this weird like house paint texture or something. I saw it in 1976, so I was 13. When I went to Universal with my uncle and my cousins. So after a while, I think in the early 90s, they took the shark and they wanted to upgrade it because they didn't think it looked real enough. So it went to a junkyard in Sylmar called You Pick Part. And people that were big Jaws fans would drive by the junkyard and you'd see it hanging there. And I think I went by there once and asked the owner like how much he wanted for it. Like, I wanted to buy it. It's the only remaining cast from the original molds from Jaws. Like, how much? And the guy's like, it's not for sale, you know, and kept blowing me off. And then finally, about 3 years ago, the junkyard closed. They donated it to the Motion Picture Academy Museum, and that's where I enter the picture. I had reached out to the museum and said, listen, I'm happy to donate all of the labor that it would take to restore the shark as a donation to the museum if you would let us restore it. So they brought the shark to the shop January of 2019, and we spent 6 months, stripped everything off of it, all the layers of paint. We had to cut the inside of the mouth open to get inside, to rebuild the inner structure. We had to redo the gills, and then I sculpted the interior of the mouth, got castings from Roy Arbogast and Joe Alves of all the original teeth. So we rebuilt the inside of the mouth.
Wow.
And we repainted it, and it's stunning.
Looks amazing.
Stunning.
It does, yeah.
In person, you can't even imagine how breathtaking it is. And to think that some guys took that job and said, okay, well, we're going to build a 20-foot shark and we're going to put it in the water, and it's the size of a bus, but we're going to figure out how to move. Like, I feel like the restoration of that shark is my thank you to every single special effects technician from the 1920s until now, because they never said no. They just said, we're going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And really, when the museum opens, hopefully they stick to the December opening, because I can't wait for people to see it, because it completely puts special effects technicians in a new light in terms of looking at it going, how the heck do you even start? Like, what's day one of that job? You get hired on Jaws. What is day one? Like, how do you sit down with a bunch of guys and go, okay, we're going to build the shark and this is what it has to do? And they did it. And it's a magnificent triumph for all of those guys. And so I'm honored that I had a chance to restore the shark for future generations.
That was amazing. That's amazing. And I know we need to kind of like switch over because we are kind of running along here. But Katie, I wanted to ask you, I mean, because how awesome was it speaking with Greg Nicotero?
that was amazing.
Yeah.
As someone who, I haven't watched it in a while, but watched Walking Dead and worked at the attraction at Universal, I mean, I was just like, is this happening? And I mean, 2020 was, pretty POS year, but there were some really good highlights, and I think that was one of mine for sure. So.
Oh, me too. Like that happened in the early part of the pandemic, and I remember him saying, "You know what?" And all of us saying, "If it weren't for this pandemic, I mean, to look on the bright side, I mean, if the pandemic had not happened, we probably would not be sitting there talking with Greg Nicotero."
No, probably not.
So that was fantastic. Hey, Luke, I got to tell you, by the way, we just saw small clips from 5. Is it 5? I think 5 of the different videos that will be shown.
5 of the 10.
5 of the 10. Luke poured his heart, soul, and so much time into editing these things. Even just what we saw tonight. What an amazing editing job of getting all the clips in there, all the movie clips, everything. Jeez, man, congratulations. That's like, wow. That's pretty amazing stuff there. It makes us look like a really cool podcast, you know? Brad said, sorry I'm late. He's chiming in from Times Square in New York City. New York City is insane in the summer. Brad's there at a premiere. Do you remember which premiere he's at, Luke? I think it's the new Gossip Girl stuff, right?
Something.
Something that I don't. Something for the CW.
As opposed to all those other times when NYC
Brad,
is completely sane, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to be like. New York
But we
City
do
is
have to
so
switch.
crazy.
Yeah, we do have to switch over, but I do want to say this. Everybody, we love Jaws. Jaws is celebrating its 45 plus 1 year this year. Luke, it's one of the best. Luke is the one who really kind of turned me on to like how great this movie is. Please go to theconguy.com. We have 10 interviews there. Luke has one more interview that hopefully will be dropping by July 4th. Luke, what is that interview?
We talked to Murray Hamilton's son, who played the mayor of Amity, which was great because he was such, like he got to kind of be there on some of these sets and got to be close to his dad. And really, like when you experience like serious loss in your life, like a lot of times it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to talk about their parent or I want to talk about their friend. But when you go through like a serious loss of somebody you truly loved, like you like talking about them. And you really felt that with Murray Hamilton's son. Like he really loved talking about his father and what he did. And he looks a lot like him too. So you'll get a lot of cool stories and perspectives on what it was like for his dad and for his family being around him.
And it was fantastic. What a great, generous guy. Sometimes people hear all these terrible stories about people in Hollywood. And you know what? A lot of them are kind of true, but there are decent people here. And the son of Murray Hamilton was a good guy, loved his dad. It's a never-before-seen interview, him talking about his dad on the set of Jaws as the mayor. It was amazing. So, Luke, thank you for putting all this together, you and Ben, for just like really, really, I mean, I remember the effort was huge. And guys, remember, theconguy.com. It's going to be there. By the way, the reason it's dropping this week, Jaws, the movie, the original, it happens on 4th of July weekend. That's the whole thing. The mayor's trying to open up the town because it's the 4th of July. The sheriff's trying to shut it down because there's a shark killing people. It's a great film. Don't you love America? Yes. All right. Last thing before we switch over. Brad says he's there for the Gossip Girl world premiere for HBO Max. Brad, good to see you. Thank you for chiming in. Woo, guys, I know that we went long, but I do want to hear about LegoCon. We have some stuff. I want to hear about LegoCon. Derek and Katie.
Yeah, so Katie and I both,
LegoCon, but
that's okay. Katie and I both have been keeping up with Lego Masters this season, and we're texting each other back and forth every so often because there's been some amazing stuff. We're both Lego fans, and I, of course, am displaying my Lego shelf behind me with some of the giant sets. My wife and I are currently working on, let's see, I will show a picture. My wife and I are currently working on our Lego Ultimate Collector Series Millennium Falcon, which is massive. We're less than halfway done right now, and it's already huge. And I'm only showing you this little picture because, it's all the underbellies. It's kind of a naked ship right now.
How many pieces is it, Derek?
I think hang on, the box is right here.
And don't you have an unboxing?
7,541 pieces.
Jeez.
Also, little fun fact for those of you who maybe don't follow Lego as much as Derek, and Derek is way more of a Lego fan than I did. In fact, his 30th birthday was Lego themed, and I got to go to that. So that tells you how much of a fan he is. But for those of you who don't know, this particular Lego set is almost impossible to find at retail value. It's very hard to find, and Derek can tell you it usually sells for twice that price, the price that it sells at retail sale. So if you are into Legos, it's going to be prepared to spend a big chunk of change for that.
This is the
Yeah.
That is so big.
It's like a collectible item in the fact that people.
It's almost my whole body weight right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Didn't you do an unboxing video?
I did. I think I sent you that. Did we share that?
We haven't shared it yet, but we will. We will do it very
You
soon.
should share it to the social media.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. Anyway, like, you know, what we love about Lego is, for one, all of us enjoyed it as kids. Most of us did. And now, you know, I think I was in college by the time they started licensing things like Star Wars and Harry Potter and then The Lord of the Rings. And we started getting, oh yes, Jurassic World. Thank you, Katie. Katie was just sharing
The video game.
the Lego Jurassic World game for PS4.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, and part of like what my wife and I love about it is it's something to do together too. You know, now they market Lego to people our age who have kids now of their own. And it's something you can do together as a family. Like, we have been just having friends join in as they come over to play and like, hey, let's work on the Falcon together. And we're slowly making our way through building it. You know, it's cool. What I love about Lego is the stuff that I love about all the nerdy things and all the conventions. It's a way for us to come together around something that we can just share joy in. And that's part of what they talked about with LegoCon on Saturday. This event was kind of the first of its kind from the Lego company. It was a 90-minute live stream that aired at the same time all over the world. And they had Q&As with designers. They revealed some new sets. They had some special events, like they raced some Lego Technic sets, some like, you know, kind of look like Tonka trucks, but some big dump trucks with molded Jell-O in the back, and they had to race them along the obstacle course and then dump it in a certain place. There were just a bunch of fun things like that. And one thing they focused on that I loved was what they call adult fans of Lego, or AFOL, AFOLs. And they had some cool stuff that they highlighted from some independent fans who had made things. They had the guy who created the Lego Grand Piano that's out now, which was on the Lego Ideas website, which is where fans can design things and share them there. And then if they get enough votes, then the company will actually make and market the sets. So they had that guy on there, and they had this one woman named Inez Vasquez, and I have some pictures I took of my screen while her stuff was being shown. But this woman is from the Philippines and makes flowers in the Philippines, like recreates them in Lego. So because my wife is also Filipino, I was really excited to get this and show her. And it's this kind of artwork like this that I'm like, man, I wish I was that good. So far, I mostly just make stuff based on the instructions. But I am kind of blown away with the stuff that some people accomplish.
That's Lego right there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's a real plant there and then a Lego plant next to it, if you look.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but so many of these she would mimic the actual plants and make like these very close facsimiles basically in Lego of them. And then another cool thing they shared was this Lamborghini. So Lego Technic has a really size? This one I think is the life-size set. Yeah. So Lego Technic has that you can buy. But they showed a life-size Lamborghini made out of Lego. It's just mind-blowing. And it's so cool. It's not just for kids anymore, but it's kind of for the kids within all of us. And some of the big highlights, like they talked about, let's see, they had a few of those designers that I mentioned. They showed a lot of stuff from the brick house, the Lego house in Denmark, where they have the headquarters, which there are giant dinosaur sets there. There's a huge tree. And they started work on this huge mural that they're doing, which you can still go to. Let me see if I can find the website. I think it's legohouse.com/dots. If that's not right, then go to legohouse.com. But you can still submit designs to be part of this mural up until, I think, August 15th. And then they're going to unveil the whole thing on September 3rd.
Nice.
Yeah, just designs.
The whole LegoCon streamed live from the Lego house, right?
Yes, I think they actually had like other locations streaming it at the same time, but the
that
main
was like the main
right there.
headquarters for it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's what I wasn't able to watch it because I was working, but yeah.
So here's the Lego house, right?
There it is. Yeah, as I was watching, I was like, I want to go, see what it costs to fly to Denmark right now because I went toward this.
Is that a real house? It's a big house?
Well, it's their company headquarters. So it's, a big office building. They call it the Lego house, but it's not really a house that people live in, as far as I know.
Yes.
Lots of minifigs live there.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what, Derek, I perused the website a little bit. This looks very cool.
This is some of the new Lego Harry Potter sets they've got coming out. And these are,
you
go ahead,
build,
Katie.
it looks like a minifig, but you're building it and it's bigger. It's not actually a minifig, but it looks like one. I actually saw those at Target when I was contemplating a Lego set to possibly buy, and I was in the Harry Potter section because there's a whole section for Harry Potter, and I saw those and I was like, oh, that's new. I haven't seen those before.
Very cool. I saw that. That was really cool. And that car looked freaking amazing.
And this year, 2021, is the 20th anniversary of the first Harry Potter movie and also the first Harry Potter Lego sets. So they had a couple of designers who make pretty much all of the Lego Harry Potter sets now. And they were interviewing them. It was great. These guys, I think Marcos and Jorge were their names, because it's great. Like, it's a huge international company and their designers come from all over. But they were talking about some of the. Oh, that's nice, Katie. I want that.
Wait. Let's look at this. What is this?
This is one of the sets that they did. They did one that was themed to each house. They came out, I believe, last year. I can't show you the whole thing because it comes apart, so you can display it. But a piece just fell. But this one is the Herbology Classroom.
Oh, so cool.
There are 4 sets like this. They're called Hogwarts Moments, I think.
Yeah.
And they're modeled, like, basically they fit inside of a book, which is of course made of Lego. But there's one for each of the Hogwarts houses, and you open them up, and each one has a special classroom with a couple of minifigs related to that house.
And it's related to that house. So like Slytherin is Potions Classroom. Emily's is Transfiguration, or Emily's Gryffindor. Gryffindor is Transfiguration, and I don't know what the Ravenclaw one is. But yeah, this one I believe was $50. I believe was how much it was. It was either 40 or 50. So I bought it, I think, for Christmas with a Target gift card. But lately, I think I want to buy, because I really want the Diagon Alley set, but it's going to cost me a pretty
It's
penny.
a big set. Yeah.
And I don't know where I'll put it. But before I do that, I was thinking I would do the Burrow, because they released the Attack on the Burrow from the
sixth
movie, I think, yes. And I really want that one because I'm obsessed with the Weasleys. They're like my favorite. I have an entire Weasley section of Pops, so I think it's like the perfect piece to add to my actual Pop Burrow, a Lego Burrow. It just seems like symmetry, you know? So, but
yeah, I like that idea.
But yeah, but for those of you, I'm glad Derek was able to talk about LegoCon because I wasn't able to join, but I'm sure they released a ton of product announcements in that time too, right, Derek?
They certainly did. They did talk about how so many of the Harry Potter sets coming out now are going to have gold minifigs in them. As far as I understand, not like actual gold, but the gold collared special minifigs of Harry Potter characters. And they have some sets that are going to come with Lego Wizard cards, which will have randomly from a set of like maybe 16, they'll have different cards in every set. So you can buy the sets and you can trade with your friends and try and get all of them, which is very clever, Not that they need to find ways to convince me to give them my money, but
we know a thing or two about nerds and our inability to refrain sometimes.
It's true.
But I did want to segue a little bit to Lego Masters because, it is something that is going on right now. It's funny because Lego Masters Season 1 aired last year, I think right around the beginning of the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I believe, or right before. And hadn't heard anything about Season 2, and then all of a sudden we finally saw an ad with the Masked Singer about it coming back, and my roommate and I were like, yes, finally it's coming back. It is hosted by Will Arnett, aka Lego Batman.
Yeah.
It is a competition show that last year, I remember it was like, Derek, have you watched Lego Masters? How have we gone 30 plus years without a show like this, like a Lego building competition? And it's absolutely fascinating. They do all sorts of challenges. Usually there's some sorts where you have to explode it or you have to break it, which goes against the rules of Lego. Like any Lego builder knows, Legos are not meant to be broken. They're meant to be a solid structure that doesn't ever stop being a structure. So it kind of
I mean, they're made to where you could willfully dismantle it and build something else.
But you don't want
they're not supposed to be smashed. No.
But like last year they had a challenge where it had to be dropped from a height of like 10 feet and it had to make a cool explosion when it hit the ground and all sorts of things. But this season, the most recent episode, because I believe there wasn't one on this week, but last week's episode combined fashion and Lego. And one of my favorite things to watch on television all the years I watched Project Runway is to watch people make fashion out of unconventional materials. So in the last episode, it was called Hats Incredible. And they had to make a hat and do a fashion show with a hat. And they're all teams of 2. They can be siblings, they can be friends, they could be married couples, all sorts of things. Me and Derek have a similar favorite duo this year. It's an Asian, it's 2 brothers who are Asian, and they're both sushi chefs, but they also are on the show. And they're absolutely phenomenal. Like, there's engineers on this show who are not at the level of some of these other builders. And they have 10, I think it's 8 hours or 10 hours to complete their build, which when you guys see these builds, you're like, how do they do this from scratch in 10 hours? Like, I couldn't even do a manufactured Lego pattern in 10 hours. Like, it's insane. But they did hats, and they had to take their hands off the hats for, I think, a total of 5 seconds.
5 seconds,
in order to, like, basically pass and be safe. And most of them had to hold it while they're walking down the runway. But the particular duo that Derek and I both like, they did not touch it the entire walk down the runway. And it was strong, it was steady. Who knows how heavy this thing was, because Legos are not like light. And it was amazing. It's such a fun show. And Will Arnett is just the right amount of goofy and serious. It's like, he's actually a really great host for it. But I also like that they also pulled from the Lego franchise to have a host for it. So if you guys want to watch some just good family, I love competition shows. I'm not a reality show fan, but man, I love a good competition show. And I think it appeases to little kids. I think it can definitely please the adult audiences more, just because we grew up with Legos. But they add all the bells and whistles. They add Technic. They add lights. They add motors. I mean, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So
where can we see it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. If you haven't watched Lego Masters, I believe they're only going to be on episode 5. So there's at least, I think, 5 episodes left, but I'm not exactly sure. It airs on
last season.
What?
There were 10 episodes last season, so we could probably
it's
expect.
It's not like a full season. It's like a half season. It airs on Wednesday nights at, I think, 9 o'clock on Fox.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also on Hulu the next day, or if you guys want to watch, I think, the whole season. I don't know if the first season is on Hulu, but I know the second season is. So you could technically binge watch the first 4 episodes and then watch the new one next week.
Why am I just like Lego Masters? This is like I've not even been aware of this show. This sounds amazing.
It's pretty fantastic.
It is pretty amazing. Yeah, and actually, Katie, from the dates that I'm looking at, I think it airs on Tuesday nights on Fox.
My bad.
Because the next episode is July 6th.
I'm sorry. It used to be Wednesday nights. It used to be after Masked Singer. This year it moved a night earlier this year because the Crime Scene Kitchen replaced it. Which is
I can't wait to check that out too.
I've watched it. It's entertaining as hell. It's Joel McHale and it's great. But yeah, check it out on Fox.
Musician friends of ours wrote some music for that, and incidentally, this same couple also were some of the musicians that wrote "Everything Is Awesome." So
that's
definitely
awesome.
want to check out Crime Scene Kitchen.
Nice. Yeah.
Derek, we need to have the Everything is Awesome folks come on and talk to us about Legos. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to have them on. We should just do an episode where we're building Lego together and talking about it. Like, you could record a podcast like that, right?
Why not? Why not? I think
I've done a Lego. I did a Lego Twitch stream, so.
All right.
Brilliant.
Derek, Katie, you guys are great. This I love the thing that I love about the community, and especially the community here, is like everyone has their different parts of the things they're into, and every time I hear about what everybody is geeking out about, I just want to go and have more of that. Like, I know that I grew up with Legos. They were a little bit different in my day. I'm very old.
Sorry to correct you again, but the brand is Lego, and if you're talking about the actual individual pieces, they're called Lego bricks. And any really diehard AFOL is going to correct you on that.
Diehard what?
AFOL, adult fan of Lego.
Adult fan of Lego.
Yeah.
A lot of the Midwest is known for adding S's to things that don't exist. Like stores will say Kroger's instead of Kroger, Barnes and Nobles instead of Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah, I grew up saying Kroger's.
Yeah,
I went to the Walmarts.
For Lego Master are actual people who work for Lego and create sets, and they're called Brick Masters.
Yeah, Amy and Jamie. And Brickmaster Amy was part of the LegoCon, and she's got a really great Scottish accent.
So great. So good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is something I think we need to dive deeper into the bricks of Lego, the Lego hysteria, because it sounds awesome. Derek, Katie, Luke, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and sharing our passion. Derek,
Jim, just a second. Sorry. Before we go, the Art of the Brick exhibit is at the Los Angeles Science Center right now until I think late January. So just a heads up, if you're into Lego, if you want to check out more of what this means, see some of the work by adult Lego fans that is actually some amazing sculptures when you come down to it. Look up The Art of the Brick is the name of the exhibit at the LA Science Center.
Wow. So they have a whole exhibit on Lego?
Yeah.
There's an entire amusement park dedicated to Lego.
Okay,
that's true.
This is true. I'm on the website.
That's how he's saying Lego.
Comic-Con.
Yeah. Hey guys, this has been a great night. I love that we got to celebrate two very nostalgic things. Lego, which is something that all of us, even me, grew up with. It never went to the heights of what it is now, but I'm so excited about that. Katie and Derek, thanks so much for bringing us all the Lego news. Cheeseman, thank you so much for putting together the Jaws 45+1 retrospective. Everybody, please go to theconguy.com and check it out. Also, please check out our podcast everywhere you can download podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Spotify. We're mainly on Spotify. I think that's our main spot. iHeartRadio. Like us, follow us, share us, and say nice things about us because we're nice people. And you can find me here on theconguy.com or James D. Fry on Instagram. Katie, where can people find you?
You guys can find me at KT_Christine across all social media, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I have it all. I was doing some live tweeting for Loki, but with Danae, both of us were live tweeting it via the Con Guy Twitter on Wednesday, which I will try to do again this Wednesday. We also have a Con Girls show planned for both WitcherCon and Black Widow. So definitely stay tuned to the Con Girls or Con Guy for more information about that. I will also be trying to live tweet as much of WitcherCon as possible because obviously I'm a big fan. But if you guys also like gaming, check me out on Twitch. I usually stream late nights, not every night, but usually that's when I stream. So if you are a night owl, come hang out with me. I have fun playing Witcher 3, Spider-Man, recently Lego. So yeah.
Awesome. I love night owls. Yes. Derek.
You can occasionally find me on Twitter at ConGuyDerek, but more often you should just check theconguy.com because I will be there and I'll be right here for the Con Guy Happy Hour.
Yes. Cheeseman.
You can find me both on Twitter and Instagram at CheeseOnCouch. Here. Right there. And also on theconguy.com and thescareguy.com. And I just want to ask one thing of the Lego people. What do you think was my favorite Lego piece as a kid?
The shark?
Like, you mean like, okay, like an actual one?
The little Lego shark. Because technically it was
gray
two pieces,
Lego shark.
but
That's
everyone
what
like it would always the top jaw thing would always come off and get lost.
Yep. I may still have it somewhere in my little, like I actually had a Lego container, like a red thing that you'd put all your Legos in.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Not organized, but they were all together at least.
Does anybody remember the name of the shark in Jaws before we go out?
Bruce.
And it was also the name of the shark in Finding Nemo.
I knew it was the name of the shark in Finding Nemo.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome night. Check us out. Go see Jaws. And most of all, love your country. This weekend is the 4th of July, which means freedom, liberty. We are opening back up. Conventions are right on our doorstep. This is an awesome thing. Love you all.
Yell barracuda instead of shark.
What's that?
Yell barracuda instead of shark. Otherwise, you'll have a panic on your hands on the 4th of July.
Thanks for listening to The Con Guy Show, the official program of theconguy.com. Find us on the Weeby Geeks Collective or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And now on sci-fi.radio, Saturdays at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, both AM and PM. That's 9 o'clock Greenwich. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi.